Hey, welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard, and I'm thrilled about today's episode. We are going to break down some barriers that are keeping you from getting to where you want to go. We're going to be talking all about recruiting, how regardless of what you do for a living, regardless of what you do in your personal life, you're always recruiting, whether you know it or not. And today's episode is going to help you get better at that. I'm excited to introduce to you today's guest, but let me just remind you that my personal mission is to wake you up and help you realize the potential that's inside of you so that then you can go on and I can help inspire and help you to live in pursuit of that potential. That's my goal, and that's the aim of this show. And I'm able to associate as a result of this show with amazing people like Adam Roach. Adam Roach, let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a master recruiter. He has recruited over 70,000 people to a specific real estate company. He's now going into other industries and is taking his expertise in recruiting to the world, because the reality is the world deeply misunderstands the need for recruiting and what it really is all about. Adam, I'm thrilled to have you here on the show today. Your accomplishments are huge. You're a big thinker, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Justin. Super excited to be here. I love that intro, man. Waking people up. That's super strong.
Yeah,
super strong.
I really believe, Adam, that the greatest untapped natural resource in the world is human potential. And that my mission is to wake people up, to help them to see that they can be more, do more, have more, impact more, and then to inspire and help them to live in pursuit of that. So you're an extension of that. What you're going to teach us today is going to help wake people up. So thanks again for coming on. Excited to have you here.
Let's no more snooze button. Let's get up and go.
Let's roll. I love it, man. Tell us a little bit about your story. You became a recruiter. When you were in kindergarten, did you say, I want to recruit people for a living? I want to teach people how to recruit. How did this all begin?
That's a funny question. No, when I was in kindergarten, I wanted to be the fastest kid in the class, right?
Right.
No. We'll catch up where I stopped playing professional tennis, right? So I was a tennis pro in Beverly Hills, California. I played collegiate tennis and then found out real quick on the tour that I was an American, not a European, was getting my butt kicked all the time. And so I got into the tennis business. And the tennis business was myself and two other guys. We owned what was called the concession rights from the city of Beverly Hills to all their public tennis courts. And so you asked, did I recruit in kindergarten? No. But I will say that I watched my coaches throughout my tennis career recruit, and I loved it. And I loved being around certain people that they were building their teams around. And when I started running that tennis club, I realized that the fastest way for us to grow and the fastest way for us to gain new members was to have incredible tennis pros. So I went out in the city of Los Angeles and just recruited as many tennis pros as I could. And when I left that company, we had nearly 32 tennis pros. And I think when we started, we had like 5.
Did you have an aha at that point of like any organization out there can get a lot better by recruiting the right talent to that organization? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, what I realized was recruiting solves everything, right? So if you want to get more tennis clients, right, we had to go get more tennis pros because again, we only have a finite amount of time. However, if you leverage yourself and there's more than one of you, if there's 2 of you, there's 3 of you, you can go get more clients that way. So I knew we had to expand, and that expansion was through tennis pros. So we recruited them. I recruited them from other places. It was kind of fun.
You know, you and I had this conversation before that not everybody has a warm fuzzy when they hear the word recruit. I was similar to you. I was an athlete growing up. And so the greatest compliment that I could have is that like a college team was recruiting me. And it was brought to my attention by a business coach that I had of like, hey, not everybody wants to be recruited. Like sometimes that like people have these sentiments of being like recruited into the military. It's somewhere where you don't want to go and it's maybe a conversation that you don't want to have. Talk to me about maybe that paradigm shift that people need to have when it comes to not having a negative connotation when it comes to the word recruit or recruiting.
Well, here's what a coach taught me a long time ago, and this is actually a recruiting coach. He said, not everyone wakes up and wants to be recruited by Justin. Not everyone wakes up and wants to be recruited by Adam. However, what everyone does wake up and realize is that where they are isn't truly where they want to be, right? So it's our job as question facilitators or people that come from curiosity all the time to say, Justin, I kind of think I need to be in business with you. And I just really need to know where you want to grow to, right? Not go to, but grow to. And so when you listen, when you ask enough questions, when you really engage with people, in my opinion, you're going to find out that they have gaps. Right? They have gaps from truly where they want to be to truly where they want to grow to. And it's our job as gap fillers or recruiters to fill that gap. And then ultimately, if the individual across from you sees the value in them getting to where they ultimately want to grow to faster in you, guess what? You'll recruit them. So in my opinion, it's a question asking session, and you better come from curiosity, and you better be open, honest, and truthful, right? Don't BS them.
Powerful distinction you just gave us there, Adam, which is recruiters are simply gap fillers. And you're right, everybody has a gap. And I would argue that if they don't have a gap, then they're probably not someone you would want in your organization anyway. Like if they think they've got it made, they're comfortable, life's good, like just don't touch it, leave it alone. Number one, you probably can't help them. Number two, they actually aren't growing, right? And I think something else I want to point out that you said there is like helping people not go, but help them to grow. And naturally, I would imagine when you're recruiting, you're looking for people that are growth centered. You're looking for people that realize that they're never going to reach their potential in this life, but man, they're going to live trying, right? They're going to absolutely live trying.
Well, I think you also want to I think who you surround yourself with really does matter. And so again, as a recruiter, if you're building a company, it's okay to be selective in who you're recruiting. Number one. Number two, coachable people are sure a lot more fun to be around than people who are not coachable. Yeah. And there's a big distinction there, because this is again, all my opinion here. Egos are massive in every space, right? Yeah. And if you can sit someone down and truly come from curiosity and ask them questions and they can answer authentically, you can tell that their egos are either low or they're an open, authentic person. But man, when you're in an appointment and someone's giving you the I don't knows or I don't care about that question, they've got massive egos. And in my opinion, those are probably people I'm not going to surround myself with.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up a really good point, is that in order to be even a good recruiter, and or if you've got gaps in life right now that are not filled and you don't have people knocking on your door to help you fill them, then you're probably not coachable, right? You're probably not very recruitable. And I sense that too. Obviously being in the real estate industry, you see a lot of people moving from mortgage company to mortgage company. In my industry, which is title and escrow, you see people moving from company to company. You see agents moving from company to company, and you see some that are in spots that they've been for decades and decades. And they will be the first to admit that they don't have the business they want, right? They're working until like the deep years of their life, not necessarily because they love to, it's because they have to. And yet they were never recruitable, right? They were never open to somebody saying, hey, why don't you take a look at a different approach here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a business coach a long time ago said that regardless, even if you're happy where you are, a good business person always keeps his or her business options open. And so as you are sitting there recruiting, and as you're setting maybe appointments to go recruit, that was always a script that I used. Hey, listen, great. What I've always been told is good business people always keep their options open. Let me ask you a question. Curiosity, are you a good business person? And then just wait, right? And see what they have to say.
That's a great question. A really great question. I've been on both sides of the recruiting table, and it is interesting how important it is for people to be good at asking questions and good at listening, right? Sometimes when you're being recruited, you feel like there's a canned set of answers that they're going to take you down. And as opposed to being almost on the recruiting side, like when you are the recruiter, of having questions without necessarily backfilling it with your immediate answer, but listening. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I'm sure getting the appointment, finding an open person, and then at that point, your expertise in helping to fill that gap, it's really, it's not a one size fits all, right? It's customizable to that person's need. Is there anything that you can share with us about how to really stand out when people start to open up and you realize this person's growth centered, they want to learn, they've got gaps? Any things that you've learned about really listening to identify how you really help them solve that problem?
Sure. Well, a couple things. So I've got a list of 26 questions that I ask, and that 26 questions literally is just the starting point. So I would, in my appointments, when I was recruiting people, I would actually make hash marks, little tally marks on my sheets of paper, because I want to see how many questions I could actually ask without either engaging in a story or telling. I wanted to stay in curiosity for as long as I could. My appointments would last anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. And I had one appointment where I got up to 109 questions I asked. Wow. And they were all centered though around that individual. And here's one thing that I hope your listeners will wake up and hear. If you are recruiting and or if you are out there attracting people and you're asking questions that are to the recruitee that feel as if you're hiding behind a bush and waiting for them to say, aha, I got you, you'll lose all day long, because it doesn't work. So when you listen, you need to learn the acronym WAIT. Why am I talking? and ask questions and let the silence do the heavy lifting and get comfortable with asking questions that maybe make them a little uncomfortable, because that's your job, is to move them from A to B. And if you don't ask the uncomfortable questions sometimes, they're going to fake it, right? Their ego is going to stay high, and they're probably not going to engage in the right questions with the right answers.
You know, again, having been recruited before, right? I'll give two like situations where I felt like every answer that I gave, again, it was like you said, like I gotcha, like, ooh, then this solution will work for you. And I wasn't convinced that it was. Whereas a different conversation, the person that was in conversation with me was very just exploratory of like, tell me what it is that you want to do and what's your path to get there. You know, and I do this from a title and escrow role, right? In which I'm sitting down with agents and I'm telling, like, ultimately, how would you describe your ideal business 10, 5, 1 year from now? Like, describe me what that looks like and tell me about your path to get there. And I'm really curious to see if they actually have thought through that. Rarely they have, right? But then it's like, additionally, talk to me about that plan. And I start to like just uncover it and start to realize that there's a lot of fuzziness in there that they don't know. A lot of it's, you know, hope. And we all know hope's not a great strategy.
Sure.
And so again, having been on that side, it's very endearing when you have somebody who is curious and not trying, like you said, to just say, I told you so, this is this, I told you this is going to work, but it's like, I don't know if it does work, and I'm totally okay if it doesn't. Like, I'm just here to help, like you said, fill a gap. And just a different experience than somebody who's trying to fit you in a specific hole, whether or not you're the right size for that hole.
Well, here, Justin, I'll give your listeners this. This was something that, again, this is all taught to me, right? I've been in this space of recruiting for the last 20 years.
Wow.
And all of what I'm sharing right now literally is just stuff that has been taught to me. And number one, people love to talk about themselves, right? So let's get them to talk about themselves. And then you just stay in a space of curiosity and go deeper. And here's the easiest way that I have found that was coached to me a long time ago to go deeper. Is 3 simple questions. So you ask them a question, pause, wait for the answer, and then say, what else? Just wait and let them keep talking. And then the next question you ask them to go even deeper is, what else? And then you pause and you let them keep talking. The last question you ask them is there anything else? And then you just pause and you just listen. Because what you're going to find there, and that's even in a good closing technique, a lot of the people that I coach right now, we will practice that ad nauseum to get them to wait and to let the silence do the heavy lifting. Because when you ask a good question, they'll be silent, right? They will be quiet. And when they're quiet, they've gone inward and they're thinking. And as soon as you interrupt that because you are uncomfortable, you've broken that train of thought. So let them talk and then let them get it all out and then ask them, what else? And be quiet and see what they say.
The part that I hear you saying that I think is really interesting for everybody to know is that when you get to that point, when you ask what else, you're taking them somewhere that they've never even gone themselves, right? That's why they're quiet. It's like, I don't know the answer. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's super duper powerful. And here's the other strategy that I used to always use. When I was in the recruiting space for real estate, I mean, maybe even in your world, many people don't know their numbers, right? They don't know their numbers as it relates to their business. And sometimes they don't even run their business like a business. They run it like a sales agent. And so I had in my office, and I still do to this day, a huge, massive wall that was a whiteboard. And I would engage them in questions, and then we would get to their numbers. And I would hand them a marker, and I'd make them go walk up to the wall and start to write the answers out now. And here's why I did that. Because we all know that when you write an answer out to a question, you're actually learning faster than if you're just saying it. And so I would get them to see their answer as they were writing it, and then they had to actually internalize that answer, and they think, holy cow, that's not where I want to be. But I would just pause and just wait and let them keep writing. And if they didn't know their numbers, I just have them write big old fat zeros because, again, they didn't know their numbers. And it always worked. It was fun. We had a lot of fun with it.
I would imagine through this process, Adam, you've not only helped people fill gaps, but you've created some really deep friendships. When somebody takes you to where you've never been before and on a journey upward to being in pursuit of their own potential, I would imagine it's deeply gratifying for you, but I would imagine that you've got thousands of people who are endeared to you because you help them see blind spots that They didn't even know we're there.
Yeah. And so with our company, iloverecruiting.com, we have 3 different verticals in there. One is called Recruiting Bridge. And Recruiting Bridge was the platform that helped bring in over 70,000 agents into a real estate company. And the cool part about that was we used simple systems that allowed recruiters all across this country to use the same approach. And what's been so powerful, we have a goal now to impact, we have a goal to recruit 100 million people now. And in any space, we'll help whoever needs to recruit, whether that's, again, real estate. We have a company called Chamber Scout, which helps people in the Chamber of Commerce world. We're going into the mortgage world. We want to go into the multi-level marketing world. We want to go anywhere that needs to be recruited. So the impact that we have and that we can have on people is huge. And as a recruiter, I've impacted. I mean, here's the thing. And this is kind of a little awkward for me to say. I don't recruit for the satisfaction of myself, right? I recruit for you because, Justin, I know what your potential is, and I know where we can grow that potential. So when you come into my organization, the environment that I've already created is going to be conducive for you to have that growth. And of all my offices that I've ever had in the real estate space, I mean, we've grown exponentially every single year because we're constantly adding to that environment. And sure, we've taken people from $5 million to $100 million. I got a guy who's a great friend of mine who is doing well over $100 million now, where 4 years ago he might have been doing 12. I've got a guy that I recruited. Love him dearly. He's like a brother now, and he called it the lunch, right? And it was the lunch where he finally took my call, and he said, all I want to do is go to lunch and steal all your ideas. And I said, I'll give you everything I have. And so we did. And now we're like best of friends, and it's really, really cool.
What a powerful spot to be in, right? Where you can really come from contribution. It's like, this is not about me. This is about you. And I'm confident enough in what I'm recruiting you to, whether that be a sports team. And I love the analogy you said even before we started, which is all of us that are in relationships, like recruited a significant other, right? Recruited a spouse. I was wise enough to recruit a spouse that gave me 6 children. Like, that was not an easy recruit.
Wow.
now, I didn't open with that. I didn't lead with that, right? And she's been a willing participant the whole way. Yeah, I mean, I think if anybody has the connotation, kind of going back to where we started, of like recruiting isn't for me. Like, 1, I don't want to be recruited, and 2, I'm not a recruiter. Then you essentially what you're saying is, I'm not interested in growing, and I'm not interested in growing other people.
Right. Yeah, totally. You recruit every single day. You recruit every which way. Your kids, you've got 6 kids. They've got to brush their teeth. They might have to make their bed. They probably have to put their clothes on. You're recruiting them to do that, right? Spouses, our spouses, we recruited them to engage in us in the beginning, to live their life with us, right? In our workspace, if we're a boss or if we're an employee, whatever, we're recruiting all day long. I bet you just recruited someone to go have lunch with you today, right? That's recruiting. That's recruiting. Recruiting's everywhere.
And I think really at the core, and I'm a big proponent of this, which is sales at the highest level is leadership. My friend and mentor Steve Yeager taught me that again, and what I hear you saying is, like, recruiting is actually leadership as well. You're simply leading people to a better spot. You're helping them identify that there's a gap, and I'm gonna like, we're gonna find out together if what I've built or if what I'm building can help you fill that gap better and faster than the environment that you're currently in.
Right. And my dear friend John Maxwell, we were just in London together. His definition of leadership is influence, right? Nothing more, nothing less. And what is recruiting? Recruiting is influencing. It is. So you are in a leadership space. So if you don't like to recruit, that's okay. Just understand that you're choosing not to be a leader.
So one more question for you. You've done a great job of helping us really understand what happens when you actually get knee to knee with people and you begin to ask questions, right? And then ask them, and then what? Actually, what was the question you said?
Yeah. So ask them a question and then say, what else?
What else? That's what it was.
What else? And then, is there anything else?
I love that. What about when you're trying to get an appointment to recruit somebody, right? Like that first date, right? In business, where you're actually getting the opportunity to sit down and ask the what else questions, right? What's some lines that you've used to really kind of wake people up to be like, maybe I should sit down with this person?
Right. So number one is, I was always taught a long time ago, you only stop following up with someone when they die. Right. So be as persistent as possible. Go back to my friend who called it the lunch. I bet I called him for a year and a half. And even to this day, he will tell you, because I have a 310 area code, he said, every time I saw 310 pop up on my phone, I would for fun hang up on you. Right. And he goes, I got pleasure out of doing that. So when you're setting that first appointment, yeah, you've got to come right out of the gate, and you've got to pique their interest in the very, very beginning. And here's what I used to always do. So I'd call you up and I'd say, hey, Justin, this is Adam Roach, and I'm giving you a call because, quite frankly, I just wanted to call and say congratulations. And people would always pause, and they'd say, congratulations for what? And then I would go into, because again, this was the real estate space. And I would say, hey, listen, I was just running through the numbers because I realized that numbers are the language of business. And I don't know if you know this, but your closed production's up 25%. Did you know that? And you would say, no, because you don't track your numbers. Right? And so that would be the opening. I would go right into talking about you. And then I can go into a massively long script there if you want to. However, that was it. And so I would just start talking about you. So Justin, let me ask you a question. Being up 25% looks like you're tracking for $10 million in sales. Would you say $10 million is your potential? And you would say no. I'd say, great, what's your potential? And you'd say 20 million. Great, we got a gap. $10 million in sales is $300,000 in GCI. Justin, would it be worth your time to sit down and talk about how to close that gap to put an extra $300,000 in your pocket for 45 minutes? And you'd say, no. I'd say, great, what's your wife's number? Because I want to call her and tell her you just passed up on $300,000 for 45 minutes. Right? And you would laugh, and that would be the only thing. So I was always big into getting people to laugh or just having fun on the phone, but also piquing their interest.
Yeah. I would imagine somebody that comes at you wanting to talk about you, right? And in that kind of fun tone, it'd be hard time after time after time to shut that down, right?
Right. Always. And he was one of my favorite scripts. So Justin, you'd say, well, I'm happy where I am. And I would say, great, I love meeting happy people. Right? And that would be it.
Happy, that's great.
Or I don't want to move. Okay, great. I don't want you to move either because I don't even know who you are yet. Why don't you just move to Starbucks and meet me for 25 minutes, 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Fun stuff like that. Well, and my favorite one was, I'm not interested. And so I say, well, great. Let me ask you, just out of curiosity, what are you not interested in? Making more money or having coffee for 45 minutes? Well, having coffee for 45 minutes. Great. You want to have lunch? Right. Hey, they want to meet, but maybe just not for coffee. So it's just having fun with it, right? It's just having fun and piquing people's interest. And here's one thing that I'll share with your listeners real quick. Remember this phrase: some will, some won't, some wait, so what, who's next, right? If you wear your feelings on your sleeve and you're a recruiter, you're an influencer, you're a leader, and you get upset when someone hangs up on you, or you get upset when someone says no and you can't handle their objection, you better get some thicker skin.
Yeah. Yep. They're saying no to the potential of their better life, right?
Right. Yeah.
And kind of going back to what you said, anybody who's a wise business person is always evaluating what's the best option today, right? And I don't think this goes against being loyal. This actually is just a growth mindset, and the stuff that you and I learn about me and my life during that meeting will for sure make me better wherever I decide to go. Maybe I decide to go, I'm going to go work with Adam, right? Because I believe he can get there faster. Worst case scenario, I'm better because of that conversation we had. And I go back to the space where I was at and I continue forward with a new perspective and paradigm. And I think if there's one thing that I want people to get out of this is you need to always be recruitable, right?
Yeah.
Like, always be recruitable, because essentially what that's saying is you're always growable, right? You're always open to growth, as opposed to thinking that you always have everything figured out and that you can't learn anything from anybody, right? There's no risk in that. Be recruitable. And on the recruiting side, what you've shared is just absolute gold, right? Have fun with people and have it be all about them. Just amazing stuff, Adam. How do people go to learn more about you, to really plug in, become better recruiters? Obviously, I love coaching. Stand up real quick. Show everybody your shirt.
Sure. There it is. I love recruiting.
He says it right there.
So
on his face and on his shirt, it's pretty clear. This man loves recruiting.
Absolutely. Yeah, they can go to iloverecruiting.com. They can fill out the form right there. If they want to have a conversation around coaching, they can do that. If they want to have a conversation around using any one of our platforms, that's fantastic. We are constantly. Here's one thing we do in the real estate space that we are actually expanding outside of the real estate space is we want to become the Zillow of recruiting leads, right? So it's our intention. We generate between 200 to 300 leads right now in the real estate space all across the nation of people raising their hand saying either tell me more about real estate or, hey, I'm in real estate school, or, hey, listen, I'm a unicorn. I'm doing $5 million in sales where I am. I don't like it. Yeah. So they can go to iloverecruiting.com. We'll be happy to have just a simple consultation with them. We'll be happy to have a coaching call with them. We'll be happy to help them any way we can. We'll be happy to connect them with people that maybe they're looking to get into business with. Who knows? But yeah, they can reach out to us there.
Powerful stuff. I know you had actually offered, which is a super generous offer to the listeners of this show, which is like a 15-minute coaching call, right? To sit down and kind of really evaluate how your platforms might benefit them, and obviously tapping into your deep network, deep experience, and the fact that you're good friends with John Maxwell should say a lot to everybody listening here, right? Sure. That that you're a big thinker. So is the best way to access that value, is it to just go to the website, iloverecruiting.com?
Yep, go to the website right there, and you'll see your name where you put your first name, last name, and email address, and we'll reach either myself or someone from the team will reach out to you, and we'll do it probably within 24 hours.
Good. Powerful stuff, man. All right, final question, Adam. I feel like there's so much more value that I hope that the audience goes and seeks out from you, because again, everybody needs to be recruiting, right? That's the only way you're going to grow. So now that we've kind of established that you're an expert there, we also know that you are a big thinker, right? Your goal of recruiting 100 million people. Did I hear that right? 100 million people are going to be recruited as a result of the efforts that you and your team put out into the world. What does a guy like you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities? Again, this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Here we expand people's possibilities. Do us a favor, teach us something that you do on a regular basis to be sure that your possibilities are always expanding.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So I love, again, well, let's go back to the beginning. It's time to wake up, right? Yeah. If you're the smartest person in the room, and we've heard this a gazillion different ways, if you're the smartest person in the room, get the hell out of that room, excuse the language, because that's not really going to impact you the right way. My father, my late father now, he was an Olympic swim coach. And this is what he taught me. He said, you go up to who you feel is the smartest or the fastest swimmer or the best tennis player, and you go up to them and ask them if they'll hit tennis balls with you. You go up to them and ask them if they will swim in the pool with you. In the business space, I took that to heart, and I've seen many people up on stage. And after the show, if I can figure out a way to go up and introduce myself, I'll go do it. John Maxwell now is a near dear friend of mine. And it was only because I walked up to an event and just introduced myself. Ed Milet, he was just with us in Aspen, Colorado, and walked right up to him and said, hey, listen, what's it going to take? What can I do to earn an opportunity to be coached by you? And I love asking that question over and over and over. So how do I think bigger? I surround myself with people that are massively bigger than I am in any different space, whether, again, that's financial, health, spiritual, fitness, whatever it is. I'm just always looking to be the dumbest guy in the room. Man,
powerful stuff. I'll tell you, that strategy's worked for me. I mean, even just this conversation, right? You're a bigger thinker than I am, and it's exciting to have you rub off on me a little bit. I've had conversations recently with Grant Cardone and Gary Keller, awesome. And awesome big thinkers that I feel very, very small in their presence. However, you quickly learn to realize that these people are just humans like you and I. They just have been thinking bigger, right? They've just been helping more people at higher levels, and right. That's not unattainable, right? I mean, what that does, I'm sure you've been around John. Is John's like quasi superhuman, right? With the value he's poured into the world. But you realize there's a path to being superhuman, right? That there's a path.
Yeah, and there is, and again. This is something I posted on my Instagram the other day. So Instagram is Adam R. Roach on Instagram. Are you prepared with questions to ask someone when you meet them, right? If someone thinks massively bigger than you and they're at the front of the room and you get the courage to go talk to them and you might have 5 seconds, what question are you going to ask them, right? Other than just introducing yourself and taking a stupid little selfie with them. Grow yourself in that moment, right? Be prepared for the questions that you want to ask them. And I posted that on Instagram a couple days ago. My 3 questions, and the last question I always ask someone if I get a quick second with them, and it's someone that I want to either be mentored by or learn from, is what can I do to earn the right to have another conversation with you?
Yep. Powerful stuff, man. I hope everybody's taking this stuff to heart. Adam Roach, you are the man, and you're a big thinker. And I want to thank you for all the value you poured into me and into the Think Bigger Real Estate audience. It's been a total pleasure. I look forward to earning the right, finding out what I can do to earn the right to have another conversation with you. So you'll be hearing that question from me. So to everybody here who's listening in today and have been impacted by this, my final requests are 3 simple words, and you know what they are. They are go think bigger. Thank you, Mr. Roach, for helping us do that today. It's been a total pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Have fun.
Thanks, buddy.